Hi, welcome back to Everything I've Never Said. This is Lakshita, and today I'm going to be talking about 16 things I learned at 16 again. The first 8 things are in the episode I uploaded last week, and I'm going to talk about the remaining 8 things today. So, starting off, I have been spending a lot more time than usual on the internet, just scrolling through social media, watching reels and stuff like that. So I'm like starting to realize how weird social media is and really understand that it makes no sense because it's just a bunch of people from different parts of the world interacting with a different bunch of people from different parts of the world. So, social media is something I've been thinking about a lot. Maybe it's because I spent a lot more time on it lately, but it's been all taking up a lot of my headspace lately. So I think most of the things I'm going to be talking about today are going to be directly linked to social media. Starting off, this necessarily isn't completely about social media, but I have noticed that people love having a fixed aesthetic. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's great. It's great if all your tastes fit into a particular theme. But I used to like really like that idea because I have always been very in awe of the idea of having an aesthetic. I just don't know why. It just seems very desirable to be like, oh yeah, this is my aesthetic, this is my vibe. I would love to do that. But I have figured that I have very diverse tastes. Like, I have like this one playlist which has thousands of songs. It has like every song I've ever loved and every song I like listening to. And there's like so many different types of songs there. You could probably fit them into any aesthetic you want. Like some part of that playlist will definitely cater to some aesthetic. And this was like a really difficult thing for me to understand because I always used to see people with tastes that are very, very well compatible with everything in their personality. And when you have an aesthetic, it kind of like describes everything: the clothes you wear, the music you listen to, even the fonts you use, the humor you have. I don't know. But aesthetics are like a very big, definitive part of somebody's life. And when you like declare yourself to be of a particular aesthetic, people kind of expect you to act a certain way. But for people like me, I go through like major personality changes every week, and I'm sure it's like many people. It's not just something I do. So I feel like it's really difficult for me to try to fit my personality into one theme. I mean, it's not necessary to have an aesthetic. That's my point. People like me who have like tastes that are so diverse in the same category or circle of things are never gonna have an aesthetic. And I used to feel like that's a bad or unorganized or messy thing. But over time, I've realized that doesn't really matter much. I mean, why would you want to limit yourself to a certain set of things when you could have like the option to change it every day? I don't know. I used to be really insecure about not knowing what my aesthetic is. It's a very irrational fear. The second thing, I mean, it's very important to me because I am a huge hobby oriented person. I love hobbies. I love hobbies. I love people with hobbies. I love people who are passionate about their hobbies. I mean, you can try to fight me on this, but there's nothing or no one more fun than somebody who's passionate about something, like genuinely passionate about something. Those are the best people to hang out with. Those are the best people to talk to because they are so goal oriented and they have so much interest in something. It's like they have these certain things that they enjoy so much. And that's like the best vibe. I love to find people with hobbies. I don't know. I love hobbies so much. So, the second thing, as a matter of fact, is your hobbies are important. I am pretty serious about my one singular hobby, and that is writing. Writing is something that has been with me for like as long as I can remember, and I'm really, really connected to it. I love the poems I write. I love the stuff I write. It kind of is like describing myself or people around me with a theme or with words, and that's something I really, really genuinely enjoy. So I don't really know if this applies to the current version of me, but I've always had this fear that down the lane, as I get more busy with stuff and more occupied with life, and being an adult has a lot more responsibilities than being an adolescent ever will. So it's obvious that maybe I will eventually get busy. But I am genuinely scared that I'll drift away from my hobbies or the things I really love. And I think one of the reasons it scares me more than it should is because the stuff I write is like 75% of my personality. I mean, when I want to describe myself, the first thing I say is that I'm a writer because I love calling myself that. And that's the reason many people know me. That's the one thing about myself that I'm so confident about. So even like the mere thought of something happening and me losing my interest in it or me just not getting the time to do it as much as I do right now is the most terrifying thing for me. Like it genuinely scares me. So I set this goal thing for myself that in the future I will never let go of writing. Maybe I'll develop new hobbies, maybe I'll let go of some of them, but I am never gonna drift apart from writing. And it could be any form of writing. I just don't want to see that happen because that's like everything to me. The third thing is directly linked to social media, and this is something which I really want to see people talk about more, and that is being chronically online. I think I came across this term a year ago or something, and I was very intrigued by it because somehow it made so much sense. It like really fit me a year ago. I actually was chronically online. But from that, I have realized that being chronically online doesn't really educate you. I mean, in a good way, it just robs you from having a sensible outlook on things. Now, see, I don't know what it is, but I think the negativity on social media has increased exponentially in the past, like maybe 2 years. I've been on social media long enough to say this, I believe. Because back in like 2019, 2020, people were hateful, but not nearly as much as they are now. I mean, it's unfathomable how overly critical people can be of such like little normal basic things sometimes. And this is also like one of the reasons I find internet to be a very weird place. Because people there are some people there who will like there's nothing they won't find flaws in. And I understand that, some things on the internet are actually wrong, they need to be removed or monitored. But I've seen people like literally rip apart a video of a cat dancing to a meme song. And that was very hilarious because it almost feels like these people have nothing to do with their own lives. Some things are like meant to be taken as a joke, and I feel like people on the internet have simply forgotten how to do that. They've become like so serious about it. They've become so serious about everything. Nobody who has a platform or a following on the internet can literally live in peace because they're constantly being criticized and for like the most stupid shit ever. And sometimes it like gives me second hand exhaustion because it's just so much. There's like so much hatred on the internet, and I feel like it's been just increasing consistently. All I can even say is that it's not that deep. Some things are just meant to be taken with the funny undertones that they have, instead of like these really over analyzed critical versions people create in their heads. It's genuinely so annoying to see people constantly, like literally constantly, pass random opinions on people they don't even know. It's literally delirious, and I hate people who constantly keep trying to find faults and stuff. But there was a time in my life where I was in, you know, overly addicted to social media, especially when I was like a new user. I was genuinely very intrigued by Instagram and all the other social media platforms, and I used to spend a lot of my time on it. And that's like a very stupid thing I did when I was younger. And I feel like constantly reading all of these things on the internet about people hating everything, finding faults in everything, made me really internalize that. Because there was a time in my life where I used to like find faults in everything. Like literally everything. Nothing could ever be passed as correct by me. Like I just could never stand anything. Everything was wrong, everything had faults, everything has to be changed, everything has to be perfect. And that was a very stupid thing because I just could not stop myself from taking everything way more serious than it needs to be taken. And I'm lucky to have like gotten over it and just understand that it doesn't really matter as much. Some things are fine. I just completely blame the internet for me ever going through that phase. I just don't get people on the internet most times. They are just really hateful towards everyone, even children. I have seen like people who are like 10 or 11 or something on the internet posting so much shit about other people. It's scary. It's genuinely scary. Moving on, this is also something about the internet. Now, see, I am a person who is like really looks forward to the idea of growing old and like wrinkly because for like the first time in my life, I wouldn't have to worry about school or jobs or stuff like that. And like I know that being older is like much harder than I am picturing it because I am delusional and I've never actually experienced it. So it's just my opinion of how being old is. It might not be as fun and interesting as I think it is. But for now, I like really look forward to getting old. But there's this like TikTok trend that's been going around which just completely bashes the idea of getting old. Like normal stuff, like normal things that come with getting old. Maybe wrinkles, maybe gray hair, or whatever physical or mental changes that occur in a person when they grow old. I feel like some of these beauty content creators or just random people on the internet hate it, and it's really infuriating for me because I find it so unnecessary. See, I am not exactly what I would consider old, and I am not even mildly threatened by the idea of one day becoming really old and just be like 60 or something. I am not scared of it. But I do know that there are people who are scared of it because, like, when you're really into that phase where you're a middle aged person going towards being old, you genuinely do feel fear. And it's understandable. And I feel like it's wrong for them to see such content because I know growing old is very scary, and to see people constantly criticize it definitely makes your fear worse. And it's not like it's criminal to, put on sunscreen so that you don't get premature wrinkles or try to prevent yourself from looking older. It's not like it's criminal. It's not like it's something very ethically wrong. But people have like gotten way too far with it because the other day I like came across this reel of a person being like, you should smile less so that you don't get smile lines because smile lines are wrinkles. If you smile more, you'll start getting wrinkles earlier than people who smile less. You should show less facial expressions. That made me so angry. It made me like so fucking angry. Are you really telling me to stop expressing emotions and smiling and crying and, being angry or laughing at something or being sad or even crying because it would make me look older? Like, what even is the point of looking 30 forever? What's the point of looking younger than you are if you spend your entire life obsessing over it, if you spend your entire life constantly worrying about it, constantly being like scared of it? See, getting old is something that happens to every single living creature on the planet, and it will inevitably happen to you. The only way you can even prevent it is to die. Not like I'm asking people to do that, but see, it's very, very inevitable. It has to happen. And you can't try to slow it, you can't try to hide it. What will you get out of a life spent obsessing over how young and quote unquote lively you look if you never get to enjoy the times you had as a younger person? I mean, you'll grow old, you'll get fucking wrinkles, you'll get grey hair, your voice will turn weird, your teeth will fall out. How can you change that? You cannot. It's literally not possible. I have seen, like, I can't recall much, but I have seen like videos over videos of these weird ass tapes and rollers and smiling less and do this and do that. This shit on your mouth, put this stuff on your hair to prevent yourself from looking older. I don't know. I understand premature aging is an issue and that has to be fought with. But some people really take it too far. I mean, me personally, I would not want to look like I'm much younger than I actually am when I'm like 60. I am not keen on looking like I'm 40 when I'm actually 20 years older. Like, no. And it's fine if you really want to do it. But I feel like lately, some people especially have gotten way too obsessed with it. Like, it's scary how some people just completely dedicate their lives to looking younger. That was a long pause. The sixth thing is something many people may not like because it's kind of controversial. It's not really controversial, it's just a little offensive. But school isn't everything. I mean, how do I explain this? School is just like a very small part of your life. You're in school for like 70, 15 or 16 years or something. And when you are in school, like in the moment, it feels like everything that matters. It's the only thing that matters. I find myself obsessing over school, assignments, academic progress, friendship, socializing way too often. Like, way too much. But sometimes I realize that I am gonna get out of school in maybe like less than 2 years now. And while it is like a very bittersweet feeling, I'm kind of happy about it. And like, I think about this and I'm like, in 5 years, school won't even matter. Like, it won't. Nothing that happened here, nothing embarrassing that happened to you in school, no bad grade that you ever got on a test, no teacher that you hated, nobody that hated you. In 5 years, none of them will matter. So when I like really stress out about, issues with socializing or issues with keeping up with school, issues with competitive environments, I realize that this is gonna matter for like maybe less than a quarter of my life. And in the end, when I like grow older and become an adult, This is gonna be something I don't even need to ever look back on. The sad part is that most people you love from school will also disappear in time, and it has happened to so many adults in my life. Yes, it's like sometimes you do find friends that stay with you forever, but it's also like really sad but true that in the future, most of your best friends, or most of the people you love, or most of the people you dated are gonna disappear in time, and you're gonna lose contact with them, and you're gonna meet new people, and they're gonna meet new people. So to like obsess over school, worry too much about it, miss out on things that could be really, really great because of school, you're gonna regret it in the future, because maybe some of the memories you could have made just by putting school like on the back burner a bit would have much more value than like one thing you sacrificed. I don't know, school really, really tests me sometimes, and this is what I remind myself every time it does. This, I don't know what number we're on, but yes, the next thing is savior complex. I have only ever heard Phoebe Bridgers talk about savior complex in her song Savior Complex, and I personally have never met anybody else who struggles with it. Like, I know there are people, but I have never personally talked to anybody who struggles with this, but I feel like I do to some extent, because it's like this unpreventable obsession you have with trying to fix everything for everyone, regardless of how impossible it is. When I was like younger, I used to be very obsessed with the idea of saving the world, not in like an environmentalist way, but in a Batman way, I guess. I used to like really, really want to protect everybody and everyone. Like, I was like, what, 6? Thinking that I want to save the world. And I still do that sometimes. I still want to fix every issue people face. Like, the people I care about, my friends or my family, I want to fix everything for them. And for me, it's like really, really difficult to accept the fact that you can't do that. You can try to help people when they need you, you can try to be there for them. But sometimes it's just not possible to make sure that everybody is like feeling perfectly fine. Sometimes you don't have to go out of your way to help somebody way too often to a point where it becomes draining for you. Because I do that, and it's like the worst feeling ever. Like, if you're not able to help somebody, the guilt you feel after is the worst feeling like ever. I've realized that you can help people, you can be there for them, but you cannot literally save them from every problem in their life, every mishappening, every undesirable thing that happens to them, every loss they face. You cannot save everyone, you cannot save everything. You can try your best, but if you fail at it sometimes, that doesn't mean you're just not worth anything, or that you didn't try well enough. And it's also like okay to take a step back when you know that you don't have it in yourself to help somebody at the moment because you're really, really dealing with something else of your own, or something else is keeping you occupied, and you know that you don't have the time or resources to help somebody. Just step back. I have been trying to feel less guilty about doing this, but progress lies in the fact that I have at least started to do this. Maybe a year ago, I would have never thought of myself even trying to step back when it comes to trying to save something, because I used to be really, really invested in it. And I feel like it's not as bad as I thought it would be. It like gets better with time. Okay, the next thing being everything won't happen exactly the way you plan it. I don't know if I'm like old enough to be saying this, but I've seen like instances over instances of this happening to people I know and even me sometimes. But sometimes, when you're like really looking forward to something that you had been anticipating for a long time, excited about, looking forward to, you like have a set vision for how you want it to be. You like even have a timing in mind. You want to map exactly how things should work out. But like it doesn't happen sometimes. It just doesn't. Because you can always like plan, but you'd never know what's actually going to happen in the set time period of whatever you're looking forward to happening. I had some pretty big expectations from some of the most monumental days of my life. I used to feel like this would be something I'll be excited about for years and years, but then I was just like excited about for maybe a week, and then it just goes away. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this event I'm going to, or this like day at school, or this like party I'm gonna go to is gonna be like the coolest thing ever, and it's gonna be the best day of my life. But it's really not that huge. Sometimes it's just way more mellow than I expected it to be. And I know, like, when your brain oversells something to you, you really, really set your hopes high. You get, like, really excited about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is always going to be a bad thing. Because, like, a lot of times in your life, things may take a turn for the better or the worse. But changing your own plan, you might have to change your old plans. Sometimes just unexpected things just happen, and that like changes the trajectory of whatever you were planning to do with your life. But that doesn't mean you're gonna like stop anticipating things, stop looking forward to something, stop being excited for something. Because just because there's a possibility that things may not go the way you would like them to, doesn't mean that you should just never be happy about something happening to you. Everybody, like, you should not stop planning things out, you should not stop anticipating things. You really just have to live in the moment with it and be prepared for something that may happen, something that you did not expect. The next thing is this like the last thing? Yeah. The next thing is change isn't bad. I know this is like a pretty basic thing because everybody says this at some point, but I do feel like people still don't talk about it enough. I feel like this past year, 2023, has brought like really drastic changes in every aspect of my life. To a, it's like to a point where my life in 2022 and 2023 is like completely the opposite. And I was like really scared last year because I knew these changes were gonna come, and I was very, very, very scared of them. I was dreading them. Knowing myself, I am horrible with even like the smallest of changes. I just want things to be the way they are. I just want them to remain familiar and same because that brings me some sort of comfort and I like to cling to that. So when I like really realized that 2023 is going to be the year of changes for me, I was very frightened of that actually happening, of the year actually coming. But to my very own surprise, this stuff didn't bother me. Although these changes were like way more personal, they didn't fluster me as much as maybe COVID did, maybe changing schools did, maybe losing like a really close friend did. Because when all of those previous changes happened, I completely lost my sense of everything. I completely lost my balance and I literally just fell to the ground. I had no idea of how to handle it. And I was like so miserable for so long, even for like the slightest changes. I used to completely lose my mind. But that didn't happen this time. And I was so proud of myself for that because I was terrified. Like the whole entirety of 2022, I was terrified of 2023. But I feel like I don't know how this happened, but I feel like the only way I actually got rid, or maybe like, got better at managing this fear was to face it. Because 2022 was the year I literally faced all my fears. I was very scared of feeling lonely or being left out. I felt that in 2022 because I changed schools recently and I did not really know anybody. I was scared of trying different things, of, showcasing my hobbies or showing people the stuff I write. And I did that in 2022. I never did that before. And I realized it's actually really fun to share the stuff you write with people. I faced most of my fears in 2022, and I feel like that maybe kind of was like exposure therapy. That's how it worked for me. Because now I'm not as terrified, now I'm not as scared. Now I don't really care as much if some small minor changes happen into my life. And that's a good thing because it was really immature for me to like constantly keep trying to keep everything the same. So, like, if you're planning to change your school or jobs or choices or, you know, try to bring any sort of change into your life, I feel like any time is gonna be the right time to do it. Because I used to always wait for the right time to do things, but there is no right time. So, like, if you really want to get rid of this fear, you have to face it. And that's, I think, how it worked for me. That's how I think it got better for me. Anyway, I think that's all for today. And I really like this. I really like talking about 16 things that I learned at 16. But I also like did not think it would be this hard to come up with literally only 16 things. Because like I really thought I'd learned a lot in my life, but I actually haven't learned as much as I thought I have. I don't know. But I did like this, and I do think that everything I said is very honest, it's very true. I'm not overselling anything here. It's very, very much from my heart and what I actually really feel about some things. But my opinions, as I said before, are liable to change, and they might. But we'll wait for that. Anyway, I hope you have a great week ahead. I hope you have the best time of your life this summer. I am so happy to be doing this, and I'm gonna see you next week. This was Lakshata from Everything I've Never Said. Bye.